2, 1. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Heart Talks. I've got Gia Combs-Ramirez with me today. And Gia, it is just so good to see you again. You asked me earlier, what should we talk about? And I'm like, I don't care. Let's just visit.
That's a good way to go, too. I think I was just wanting to dial in a little more to your audience. And so I'm doing that now. It's kind of tuning in to them a little bit and seeing, I have so much information and what would be appropriate for them.
I know.
Kind of where I was at with that. So then when you said, I don't care, let's just talk energy, that's when I was like, well, this is what I've been looking at lately. So we can go wherever you want to go.
Okay. Well, I did want to mention that in the last 3 weeks, I think it's been last 3 weeks, I have been all over the scale. I have been from the deepest, most extreme sadness to the middle. And then from this point on, it has been just one miracle after the other with me. I've just, and it goes like this, moment by moment. Cry, happy. Cry, happy. Woo! I think I'm better for it.
Well, one of the things, since you're energy sensitive, that I often ask when people are talking about their emotion are those your emotions, or are you tuning into collective consciousness, which is really loud right now? So,
yes.
But I can see that you're definitely recalibrating to some energies, and it's almost sort of like emotions are all about just energy moving, energy in motion, right? So it's sort of like you're moving this energy, but it's through the emotions, and it's kind of like cleaning, kind of like fall cleaning.
Yes.
Or clearing,
Right.
I think, you and I have been talking, this is our third one. Everything for me comes in threes, because there's 3 phases of transformation. So we had our first one, which was really exciting, and then we had our second one, which was classically, it can be a little more chaotic. I'll just say that the energies were different from our first one. Right. And then the third one, it's like, wow, we've really found our rhythm, and we're like, boom, we've really hit that. So I know with me, hanging out with me, there's always this conversation about the crystalline energy system and the new energy paradigms. Yeah. You're in the new energy paradigms, but you're shifting into, this is really good. You're shifting into the crystalline energy system. So our bodies, just like computers have their operating system, our bodies have the primary operating system, and it's been electromagnetic. You are now, so the last couple times I would talk about it and you would shift into it. This time you're already in it. Mm-hmm. So the way I have gotten to having a crystalline energy system is through activations that I do through my classes. But the earth has gone crystalline herself, and so all of life will be changing to that as well. So for me, you're doing it in the organic way, and it's really important because I don't know what the organic way is. I know that you can be born crystalline, or you can shift into it, and mine was through energy activations. And then there's this organic way. All of life will be shifting. So I think it's so wonderful that you're observing what you're going through, and observing is the key. You just observe and it'll shift, and you observe and it'll shift, right?
Right. It was interesting because last week when we were talking, you said something of crystalline energy, and then you go, oh, there you are. And I tried to think for a moment, okay, what did I just do that I shifted back in? I became conscious again that I am crystalline. It was just a moment of like, oh, right. And you were able to catch on right away that I had shifted. And that was, I thought that was pretty cool, because now I'm a little more conscious about,
yes,
okay, now I know that I can shift. I know that all it takes is just awareness, and I can shift back in. Whew, what an incredible tool.
It's very, very helpful for so many reasons. And it's a bit of a hard thing to explain, because our normal operating system, like nobody's aware of the operating system in their computers. So our operating system, if it's primarily electromagnetic, it's very dense, older, the energies. So you're working with electric and magnetic, which is dualities. You're working with energies get entangled. And it's like the wiring of a house, running more energy through your 110 volts, right? It'll blow them up, and that's what happens. So as we're transforming, it leads to higher levels of consciousness. But if you're doing it through the electromagnetic system, it's painful. Whereas the crystalline energy system, it is truly crystalline in our body, and it can hold tremendous amounts of energy and light. It's like we can all be light. I don't want to say workers. That's like the old term. I'm spiritual, therefore it's hard work. But light players, we can be light players.
That's a good one.
And because we can hold so much light. Whereas in the past, light worker was it was a kind of a spiritual development phase.
Right.
So that there's some huge, wonderful difference. And all you have to do, you've been with your kids, you were just telling me about all those wonderful trips with your kids. They're all crystallines, and just hanging out with them. And you can see how they process things so differently.
Yeah.
They're very, very fast. Yeah. So I'll be funny if I'm doing energy meditation with a mixed group. The old folks, the old operating system, they need a lot of time. And then the crystallines are like, bloop, okay, what's next? You know? Yeah. So they can really have that. They very much do accelerated energy shifting.
Right. They're the ones that really need to be patient.
Yes, because our world is still slow, still dense.
Okay, what is the difference between 5D and crystalline consciousness?
So I'm not totally sure because
I keep hearing these definitions, and I'm just like, well, I hope I'm doing it.
I know. So in the old energy paradigms, old souls, we had a certain sense of how we evolved, transformed, became enlightened, and this big shift around 2012 and after was there was a sense like, well, we're certainly going to ascend or evolve, transform from the level we're at into, and the terminology that came up was 5D. So, of course, we're in third dimension is the world of form, and it's pretty dense, although not as dense as it used to be, because the Earth herself is no longer quite so dense as she becomes more crystalline. Mm-hmm. And then there's 4D, which is there's different models when it comes to talking about dimensions. If you think of kind of like scaling up, okay, 3D is this realm that we're in, sitting here on planet Earth. Then 4D, I often think of it as it's the band around the Earth where the internet and all of that information is going, and it gets pretty glommed up. It's got, if you can find a country that doesn't have any internet, you'll feel like, wow, it feels so different.
Wow.
So 4 dimension is often, it's more emotional based, a mass consciousness. And then 5D is considered, 4D can be emotional and mental, and 5D is considered maybe more spiritual. I don't understand the concepts when people are like, we're now in 5D, because when you say that and people actually leave their bodies, and it's like, yeah, no, we're still in form. We need to be here in third dimension.
Okay.
And I didn't do that route, right? I went into becoming crystalline. So crystalline, I'm more familiar. I can talk about that better. But it's like you're able, with the crystalline energies, there's this, the one terminology I've come across that interfaces with what I've been reading and studying is Indra's net. And it's this beautiful net of energies, and at each, where the energies cross, there's this beautiful crystal that reflects all the other crystals.
Wow.
And Indra's net's been used in Buddhist terminology to explain some of the Buddhist principles. But I actually no, that actually exists. And I teach it to my students, and I can do it here right now. When we want to palpate or feel electromagnetic energies, we do it with the palms of our hand, right? And you can just go like this, and you can feel that pull.
Right.
Indra's net, which is what I call the crystalline energy field that's out and around us, you palpate it or feel it with your fingertips. So if you just put your fingertips up in the air and sort of move them back and forth a little bit, you'll feel a little pull on your fingertips. That's what I call the crystalline energy field, or Indra's net. And that's a communication. It's a grid system. I don't know at what dimension it is. It kind of exists through all of the dimensions. So my crystalline energy system within me can connect to it, and I can communicate. It's like super higher power telepathy. I can communicate anywhere I want to go without having to kind of leave my body or get out of this dense, a big thing in the old energy paradigms was learning how to exit the body. There was what do they call those? Merkaba mechanisms. And to me, none of those are needed in the new energy paradigms, the crystalline energy systems.
Right.
We could just connect with our intent to the crystalline energy field. That's what all the crystallines do. They can communicate to each other around the world. It's quite fun to tune. You can start doing that with your girls. And sometimes the kids lose the connection. They go to school and they're not being taught that, and so then they're like,
yes.
well, I'm crazy, and they drop it. But
yes. It was good for the summer, but now we're back to business.
Right, I know. Well, just for a moment, imagine a crystalline classroom. I'm going to have fun with this one. And you have a teacher who comes in who's aware of these things, and she's going to teach them about physics. And so the kids have their book in front of them where there's those printed words, and they're learning that way. It's a very slow way to learn. And she takes them to connect to the crystalline energy field, and then they go connect, and they could connect directly to Einstein or Newton or any other field of physics that they want, and they could directly download the information into their crystalline energy system. I know, it's like, it's such an incredible, and I'm just like, wow.
I want to go to that school.
I know, right? Reminds me when I was fascinated with Edgar Casey's story, that he learned by putting his school books under his pillow, and then at night while he was sleeping, and they called him the sleeping prophet or the sleeping psychic, he would absorb all that information from the book. And he would still go to school for 9 months because nobody believed that he could get it, in one night or 2 nights or however long it took him. but this is the way these kids can learn. And if that information is available to you at all time, it would completely switch up how schools are.
Right.
I'm really having fun looking at all this, because you could, instead of having to learn, we're shifting energy now. Instead of having to learn huge bodies of information that your brain draws on as you go forward in life, you could, okay, I've got this problem that I'm working on, and I'm just going to pull in the information that I need for just that problem. Right? You could just focus in on that, because the information is always there.
Yes.
For you to access. And so it could be challenge or problem specific. So say some kids like, no, I want to learn how to become the best basketball player ever. And so they could just be studying that. And there's, it's more than just dribble the ball and shoot. There's all kinds of things. It would tie into math, it tie into communication, it tie into, and so,
yes.
I mean, these are some of the possibilities that are out there. But Earth has its systems, and we're shifting from this old energy paradigm into the new energy paradigm. And so a certain amount of the old needs to stay in place to keep us balanced and stabilized, because we can only handle so much, Uh-oh.
Hang on.
All right, am I coming through clear? It said...
Yeah. We're back.
Okay.
We're back.
Oh, all right. So we're standing at this precipice in a good way of all of this new stuff. And going back to the question of what's the difference between 5D and the crystalline energy system, when I first started looking at this, I was like, okay, is it the same thing, but we're just calling it different terminology? And it's very similar in the sense that 5D people who have become enlightened to that degree, hold a tremendous amount of light. And they're not fully electromagnetic, but they're not fully crystalline yet either. And it might be easier to shift into crystalline from there, but it's not that be all end all and this is where we're finally going. Right. It looks like a dead end to me. Like if you think that's it there, and finally there, and people are going to get there and they're going to be like, wait, this isn't nirvana, this isn't, what I was expecting. And so I'm always like, my little metaphor is just take one step to the right. And you'll be the crystalline energy system, and it would be easier to shift into that. But the crystalline energy system, it's still very earth-based, earth-focused. That's a whole different way of operating on the planet without the traditional problems that electromagnetic, and it literally, I don't know when, I could like, okay guys, give me the answer on this. But at some point it was determined, like for the direction of evolution for life on Earth, the electromagnetic system could not take us there. And that's when, anything in the 80s, that's when the first, well, not the first, but a big wave of crystallines started coming in, and all the kids after that have come in as crystallines or indigos, rainbows. There's bunches of different names for them. So yeah, that's kind of it. It is different, but it's similar in the amount of light that each can hold. And so for the old souls, so an old soul, has been coming on planet Earth forever, and they're kind of like, I want my dessert. I've been waiting around forever for this, this time on the planet. Very different than how we imagined as old souls. We had a certain sense of progression, how it was going to be based on the old energy paradigms or the Piscean times, or however you want to describe that.
Right. Right.
So that's kind of, yeah, no, they're different. 5D and crystalline energy system.
You know, it's interesting that we're going through this process. All of us are going through this process, and we're making every effort we can to put these earthbound words and descriptions and charts and rules and all of this to it. And, you know, there are so many people out there who are just, like you said, they're kind of organic and they're just doing it.
Right.
Anyways, you know, how lucky for them.
Well, I'm not sure. If you don't have any context for this change and transformation that we're going through, it can be pretty scary. If those people probably aren't listening to this,
Right.
but yeah, it's certainly
Well, what I see happens is that they get a symptom and they rush to the doctor, and that's the worst possible thing. And I've noticed that in my network of sensitives, some, you know, we'll post what we're feeling just so that we know that we're all feeling the same thing. And someone will always come in and wanna fix us.
Oh, yes, that's true. The healers are like, no, go do this, go do that. But you're right. You remember the woman, or were you aware of the woman? She ran a blog for a long time called What's Up on Planet Earth.
No, I don't know that.
And she had a tremendous following. And then she kind of, I mean, there's just these points of time in our own transformation when we have to kind of retreat from the world and take care of our own transformation first to stay caught up, right? Those of us who are the leaders or the visionaries in this work, it's sometimes it's like, I just have to retreat. I can't take care of all of you guys. And then back up, take care of ourselves. And she kind of crashed and burned there at one point. And it was very interesting for me to listen to someone else. It's hard to find people that I can follow. Even like in astrology, I have to find people who are, there's a woman out there called Stephanie Azaria, and she talks about the new consciousness. And I was like, she calls it differently, but she's tied into the crystalline consciousness that's there. And so they're few and far between. I'm just assuming they're going to be more and more and more of us out there talking about this crystalline shift versus the 5D shift. So I just routinely kind of ask, is this in the old energies or is this in the new? But it's happening. But you're right. The transformation symptoms is the question I always ask: is it pathology or is it, transformation? Because it shows up the same way in your body. I've been having, I don't know about you, but I've been having this full moon that's coming up, very potent, or, the new moon eclipse and the full moon eclipse and everything that's going on.
Yeah.
It's been slamming me physically. Sometimes it might show up mentally, or for you it's been showing up emotionally. For me, it's been showing up physically, and it's just kind of, I don't know. It's whooping my ass. I'll just say that.
Right. Just gotta let it pass through.
Yeah. Lots of rest. The typical things. Lots of rest. Lots of water.
Right.
Right.
And hang out with your friends who understand you.
and be as in high a vibrational state around me as much as possible. Of course, that's me being out on the land, or you being with your art and also out on the land.
Right.
But yeah, it's not about being very engaged in the world. And I can tell when I've disengaged, because it drives my husband nuts. We don't have these kind of conversations, my husband and I, but he knows when I've disengaged, because he just starts, like poking me, like to get me to react in any way, because then I'm engaged again.
Right.
And I was just realizing that last night. And I was just like, oh, just go, leave me alone and just let me be for just a day. Just give me a day. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, God. Yeah, siblings of us light players are they really have to deal with it.
I know.
Bless their hearts. Well, listen, our 40 minutes is about up. This has been a great talk. I love it whenever I have you on here, because I always learn a new way to say things.
Oh,
I like the vocabulary you use, and I love the things that we talk about. And I always, besides feeling connected with you, I always feel like I learn a little bit, or I remember a little bit more. So I really thank you for that.
you're very welcome. I look forward to this every month, and we're going to be a little bit earlier next month. So
Yes, we are.
we might have to move it up to twice a month. Sheila.
That wouldn't hurt my feelings a bit.
I know. Well, you are definitely a kindred spirit. I love connecting with you and all of the people who follow you. So Thank you for having me.
All right. We'll see you in a couple of weeks.
All right.
Okay,
Bye.
love you. Goodbye. Namaste, everybody. It's been a great show. Bye-bye.